Time travel jumps to seasons 3, 2 and 1 of Star Trek Discovery. Old characters returning we haven't seen for quite some time. A glimpse at a possible future, with the Breen as the main aggressors. A link to the Temporal Wars. Lots of mind-bending time travel stuff coming up. Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Episode 4 of Star Trek Discovery Season 5 entitled Face the Strange. This is our time-bending time travel episode for the season. I kind of predicted we might be getting a bit of time travel in this episode and I was right. This was a cool episode, but at the same time it was a small episode. It was a very bottle show kind of episode, this one. We didn't kind of venture outside the sets at all. It was all taking place pretty much in the ready room or in engineering. But that being said, it was also very cool to see little flash moments from previous seasons of Discovery and our characters with different hairstyles and different uniforms and all that sort of stuff, which was kind of cool at the same time. So let's take a look at episode 4 and see what it was all about. So this episode starts off 15 hours prior. We get to see what Mole and Lark were up to whilst the Discovery was going through episode 3 on Trill. And they were off on some planet doing a bit of secret dealings with a weapons dealer, robbing and murdering him with some tainted poisoned latinum for some technology that was back from the temporal Cold Wars. We'll get to that in a little bit. I've been racking my brains to see if I can think of what Star Trek race this guy's from. He does look familiar to me, but I just can't place him. So if any of you guys know what race of Star Trek alien he's from, let me know in the comments section. And then we jump forward to directly after episode 3 when the crew return from Trill to see that this little thing that Mole's planted on Adira's uniform is this nanotechnology kind of weapon, like a little spider that runs around the ship and causes trouble. And despite Burnham and Book and Culber getting the next piece in the puzzle, leading them to Zenkathi's space in last week's episode, it doesn't seem to have garnered any kind of solid leads. They've gone to the coordinates, but nothing's there. Meanwhile, we've got this little spider infiltrating the ship, trying to cause trouble, and gruff old Rayner maybe being a little bit too hard on the crew, requiring a little bit of a chat with Burnham in the ready room just to kind of, maybe just tone it down a notch, just pull it back a little bit. I can't believe they're that lazy. They have to triple tap their communicators to beam from the bridge into the ready room, which is like a 20-second walk. How lazy are these guys? But I did appreciate the objective of this scene, which was basically to set up Rayner as gruff, mean to the crew, so that then by the end of the episode, he can mellow towards them, know the personal details, which helps them get out of the predicament, and then paint him as a better person who cares more for his crew. I'm surprised by this scene in engineering where we see Stamets seeing the spider crawl around engineering, and he's just looking at it for about a minute, doing absolutely nothing. Surely if you saw that crawling around the bulkhead of your ship, you'd get a pad or something and just smack the thing as hard as you could, as quickly as possible. He just seems to watch it crawl across the wall and crawl down the wall and then crawl across to something else, and it's like, dude, kill it. What are you doing just watching it? So that kind of struck me as a little bit odd that he just didn't do anything about this device, watching it for quite some time. After the spider gets into the systems of the ship, we get our first time jump where we see the moment when the Discovery was traveling from the 23rd century to the 32nd century through the wormhole. So it was right at the end of season 2. So this was kind of cool to see, Burnham in the Red Angel suit. We've got the Discovery following behind. We get a lot of these sort of moments in this episode where we jump back to past moments within the show. We then flash back even further to the original Discovery in dry dock back in San Francisco with the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. We've got some sort of technician there and he's just not expecting them to be there to inspect the ship just yet. So obviously this is when Discovery is just about to be commissioned, but it seemed odd to me that they were like basically in San Francisco. You'd think, wouldn't they be up in a dry dock facility orbiting Earth? Like, every time we've seen starships being built and being commissioned and everything, from the Enterprise in Strange New Worlds to obviously the Enterprise being refitted and everything at the start of Motion Picture, they've always been in like a space dock facility that's been orbiting Earth. To see it with the Golden Gate Bridge only 100 meters off the ground kind of struck me as a little strange. We get another time jump backwards right from kind of the end of season 2, second last episode of season 2, where we see the big fight going on between Control and the Discovery and the Enterprise and the Klingons and everything. And then there was that big battle sequence that went on at the end of season 2. We're getting these little highlight moments here. And this is when Rayner comes up with the concept that they've been infiltrated by a time bug. This is a piece of technology that's been left over from the temporal wars that were in the, I think they were somewhere around maybe the 27th to 30th centuries or thereabouts. Obviously, we featured them in Star Trek Enterprise and everything. And it seems like this particular piece of technology was designed to upset ship systems, have them flip-flopping around through different times and get them basically stuck so they can't actually do any good or anything. So I think it's kind of cool that we got a little bit of a reference to the temporal wars, what sort of technology was being used at this particular point in time. And obviously this technology is quite sought after by black marketeers and sold off to people for very, exorbitant amounts of latinum. We see that moment during the whole battle with Control and everything, where Stamets gets impaled by a piece of shrapnel after an explosion on Discovery, and he's in sickbay being treated by Culber, but yet he's got the memories of present day and he's kind of trying to solve their present 32nd century predicament. So it was kind of fun to kind of see these moments played out again, but from a kind of a slightly different perspective. Next, we end up jumping forward again into season 3, where we get that moment where Osira, the Orion leader, had all the henchmen infiltrate Discovery, and we get a bit of a fist fight and a phaser fight going on there between Rayner and Burnham and the Emerald Chain henchmen. I did find this hand-to-hand fight kind of a little odd in moments that you've got Rayner and Burnham punching these guys in the face, bare-fisted, that are wearing essentially motorcycle helmets and knocking them out. This is bizarre. Like you punch somebody in the head with your fist, wearing a motorcycle helmet, you're going to break bones in your hand, and the people wearing the helmets are going to be completely unscathed and not even rattled, I would imagine. So the fact that they're punching these henchmen and they're falling to the ground unconscious after being punched wearing helmets, it's like, come on. This is just silly. But it was cool to see Reno come to the rescue of Rayner, having a little bit of exchange there. Reno making her little quips, as she always does, that are always very entertaining. I really hope we get a bit more stuff with Reno this season. I think she's always good value and has some really great lines. Our next time jump sends us even further, way into the distant future, about plus 30 years to the year 3218, where we get to see a post-apocalyptic scene where Federation headquarters has been completely destroyed. It appears that Mullen Lark sold the progenitors technology to the highest bidder, in this case being the Breen. We've obviously heard the Breen being mentioned a few times before as a big antagonist for this season. So it definitely seems like we might be getting a bit more of an appearance for them perhaps later in the season, because we keep name dropping the Breen as the main race they got to be worried about. We hear the Que Sera music playing. Zora's having a bit of a listen to that, which kind of links nicely to that old Star Trek short trek, the one Calypso, set in the distant future. So a nice little link we get back to that one. So we now definitely get a very good look at what actually happens if this progenitor technology falls into the wrong hands. We get a nice little interaction between Reno and Stamets in engineering, obviously wearing the older season like 1 and 2 uniforms. And it seems like Reno might be a little bit savvy to what's going on with Stamets there, doing his time jumping and everything. He's asking questions about what to do to solve certain time problems, and she's kind of going, are you stuck in a bit of a time loop there, Stamets? It's like, she's a smart cookie. We get our group banding together, Rayner and Stamets and Burnham trying to work out, okay, they've got to neutralize this time bug that's attached itself to a piece of equipment there in engineering, and they're going to have to build this chronoton stabilizer to neutralize the bug, which they need to pull out of a piece of 32nd century holodeck equipment that's located in Burnham's quarters. So they have to wait for a time jump to get them back to that period so they can get it. Burnham gets the component from her quarters. This is obviously a moment during season 3, and we kind of get a little interaction here between Book and Burnham. This is obviously when they had their relationship together, and you kind of get a sense there's a bit of uneasiness there, because they've sort of broken up now and they've moved on and the relationship's come to a close, but Burnham's obviously, entered this particular moment in time where they're in the middle of their relationship, so she kind of has to make a pretense of everything just being fine to get back to where she needs to with the technology that she has. They soon find out that the time bug is basically shielded. They can't kill it or trap it or whatever, because time is moving at a weird speed or something under its shield. And there's a lot of techno babble and exposition in this episode where it's just sort of flying through and you're just going, oh God, like I sort of felt like I just had to kind of sit back and let it kind of wash over me, because I kind of feel like if you kind of think about the plot too much in this episode, I think it's one of those plots where you could probably start to unravel quite easily. So I'm just going to go with it, chronoton this and time bug that and temporal whatever, and I think you just got to let it kind of just wash over you and not really kind of think about the science and the technobabble too much, because yeah, the second you kind of start digging beyond surface level with some of this stuff, and you can kind of pull the threads apart pretty easily. Next, they find out they're going to jump back to season 1 era of Discovery, where we've got Arium still on board. Obviously, Burnham is a recent addition to the crew as a mutineer, and thankfully Lorca and Saru aren't around, so we've just got to worry about the regular bridge crew. Can anyone say money-saving exercise here? Would have been nice if they'd been able to get Jason Isaacs back, just for a bit of a cameo there to play Lorca. That would have been fun. But, I guess maybe he was busy working on other projects. Maybe they approached him and he wasn't able to do it or something. Likewise, I think it might have been a missed opportunity that they, weren't able to do a time jump back during season 2, where we got to see Pike as the captain of the Discovery. Obviously, Pike was captain for the whole second season of Disco. So it would have been good if they had been able to say, hey, can we just get Anson Mount just to walk from the studio filming, Strange New Worlds or something into the Discovery studio just to do a quick cameo appearance as himself from season 2. I think that would have been nice to see as well. I thought maybe we might get something like that in this episode, but unfortunately another missed opportunity, I'm afraid. But we did get to see season 1 Burnham with her season 1 hairstyle, season 1 uniform, come into direct contact with 32nd Century season 5 Burnham, and obviously she doesn't believe who she is. She thinks there's no way in hell she could possibly be a captain. And that she has obviously got massive imposter syndrome and everything, and thinks that she's a changeling. So there's a fist fight ensues between the two Burnhams, which was a bit of fun. I thought that was kind of cool because they both kind of had exactly the same fighting style, which makes sense. So how do you kind of, win a fight with yourself, knowing all your own moves and everything? I thought this was resolved in a quite good way, in the sense that we know that Burnham grew up on Vulcan and she knows how to do the Vulcan nerve pinch, and she just nerve pinched herself to make her unconscious. So that was a good resolution, I thought, to this quite fun little fight scene between the two Burnhams. We get a nice little recurring joke in engineering where Stamets has to keep telling everybody to get out of engineering because they've got a private business to kind of conduct, and they've got to keep finding new ways to tell everybody to get out of engineering so they can do what they have to do. And I like the reference there from Stamets that he was a bit of a grumpy bastard or whatever back in the first season, and he mellowed a little bit after getting the tardigrade DNA in him or whatever to be able to facilitate the spore drive and whatnot. Stamets was probably a little bit sort of a bit more gruff and grumpy or whatever in the first season. So at least they kind of referenced that and acknowledged it, which I thought was good. And there's a nice little exchange between Stamets and Rayner here where, Rayner kind of has a little, I guess, bonding moment with Stamets, talking about, hey, come on, let's show them how old dogs can have the best tricks. Next we get Burnham on the bridge of the Discovery with all the old crew there in the old uniforms. Tilly's got her old hairstyle, and we've got Arium back again. And I thought the way that Burnham had to talk about each of the crew members in a bit of a personal way to kind of prove that she was in fact Burnham and not some imposter or some changeling or anything like that. And I'm kind of surprised she sort of said to Arium, hey, you're gonna die. Like, talk about breaking the temporal prime directive, like a bit too much information, oversharing here. Don't say that. The information did convince Arium that she was genuine, I suppose. But I would have thought, maybe this could have been achieved without massively breaking the temporal prime directive. Meanwhile, season 1 Burnham has bailed up Stamets and Rayner at Phaser Point with Reese in engineering. And I love the fact that for Rayner to talk Reese down by reciting the same story that Rhys had told him in the previous episode, where he told the story about him loving the Constitution class and loves the curves and all that sort of thing. Rayner was able to use this piece of information to convince Rhys that he knew him and that they should be trusted. So I thought that was a good link back to that previous episode. And likewise with Rayner reciting the story to Burnham about how she felt coming on board the Discovery back at the start of season 1, felt like she had to run immediately, and just telling her that same piece of information just to cement a little bit of confidence in their mind that they weren't a threat and they should be allowed to fulfill their mission. They pop the warp bubble. Rayner traps the spider with his hand in the temporal field, aging to about the hand of a 90-year-old or thereabouts. So poor old Rayner's going to have some treatment there in sick bay to, repair his hand or something. I wonder whether that's going to come back in a future episode about his hand, whether he's got problems with it in forthcoming episodes because of that situation. Discovery gets back to its own time again. They only lose about 6 hours, and they're able to track the warp trail of Mole and Lark's ship, and the episode pretty much ends with them, I guess, in pursuit of Mole and Lark. Not that they would necessarily know where the hell they're going. I don't know why at the end of this episode they go, oh, let's follow Mole and Lark, because they know where they're going. Do they? They weren't on Trill. They didn't get a puzzle piece. How the hell do they know where they're going? Thought there was a bit of a logic gap there in terms of why they're following them, because it's not like they found the puzzle piece. The Discovery crew found the puzzle piece. They should be deciphering that, not following Mole and Lark, who don't have any idea where to go. That's sort of... I get that they have to track down Mole and Lark and apprehend them and stop them trying to pinch pieces to the progenitor's tech, but there's sort of a little bit of explaining there that sort of was a little bit fuzzy, I thought. All in all, look, I quite enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a bit of a bottle show, like obviously just, taking place in their existing sets. There was only that one little bit of location work, which probably wasn't even location work, to be honest, the one with Mole and Lark at the lakeside with that weapons dealer at the start. That was probably just on the volume. Jumping around the place, seeing different crew members, seeing Arian back again and seeing Bryce back again at the communications desk and whatnot. I think that was kind of cool. And time travel episodes are always a bit of fun, but I did kind of think this was sort of a bit all over the shop in terms of its time travel jumps. And that you sort of don't want to dig into the science and plotting of it too much, because I think it would be one of those things where you could pick it apart to pieces without too much examination. But let me know what you guys think. Leave a thought in the comment section and we'll get chatting about this fourth episode of the 5th season of Star Trek Discovery, entitled Face the Strange. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci-Finatics yet, please don't be shy to do so. Click on that big subscribe button to stay current and up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. And be sure to check out my merch in the merch store. Plenty of cool t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, caps, stickers, you name it, it's all there. And really helps support the channel at the same time as picking yourself up a cool bargain. I'll be back very soon with the next video, which will probably be a look at the sneak peek scene or a trailer or something for our next episode 5 of Discovery. So we'll check out that when it drops. I'll see you then.